The trap of comparison. In the workplace, we often fall into the worst comparison trap. We believe compensation must be perfectly proportional to the time or sweat we put in. But what happens when you work all day, and someone who worked for just 1 hour receives the same wage? Today's story, the parable of the laborers in the vineyard, is a shocking lesson in value pricing and fighting envy. It teaches us that value is determined by the payer, not by your judgment or emotions. Effort and compensation. A vineyard owner hired workers at various times of the day: early morning, the 3rd, 6th, 9th, and 11th hours, only 1 hour of work remaining. He agreed to pay those hired early a denarius. For the others, he simply promised, "I will pay you whatever is right." When it was time to pay, the owner did something seemingly irrational. He started with the last workers hired and paid them a denarius. Immediately, those who had worked since early morning felt hope and envy. They thought, "Surely we will get more." But they also received a denarius. Their disappointment didn't come from receiving less than their agreement. The issue lay in comparison. They felt treated unfairly because someone else received too much compared to the effort they perceived. Value pricing and ownership rights. When the all-day workers complained, the vineyard owner responded with 2 key questions. "Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a denarius? And, is it not lawful for me to do what I wish with my own money? Or is your eye envious because I am generous?" Value pricing. The owner valued the work based on the value of a day's work, not the actual time worked by each person. In business, this is why an expert can charge a high fee for 1 hour of consultation. They are compensated based on the value of the solution, working fast, not the labor, working long hours. Fighting envy. The owner reminds the workers that another person's compensation is the owner's decision and does not affect your agreement. Envy is a destructive emotion, stemming from focusing on others' possessions instead of one's own agreement. Application in career and psychology. How do you apply this mindset to your career and personal finance? In your career, equity mindset. Stop comparing your promotions, salary, or opportunities to your colleagues. Focus on your agreement, the value you commit to delivering, and develop high-value skills. Skills that help you work efficiently, like the last hour worker but deliver complete results. Pricing your services. If you are in business, learn to price based on the value you deliver to the client, the final outcome, not the hours you put in, time worked. This is the key to escaping the wage worker trap. Emotional management. When you feel envious, ask yourself, what is the value of the agreement I currently have? Am I focusing on someone else's generosity instead of building my own? Mental health and flexibility in process. The trap of rigid rules. In every organization, rules and procedures are created to ensure order and efficiency. But what happens when those very rules obstruct human recovery and well-being? Today's story, The Woman Bent Over, is a challenge to the inflexibility of law. It teaches us the core lesson. The purpose of the law is to serve people, not to bind them. This is a modern analysis of prioritizing mental health and flexibility in process to unleash team potential. Human needs versus the law. This woman had been crippled by a spirit, leaving her bent double for 18 years, a symbol of chronic burden and burnout. When Jesus saw her, he called her over, laid his hands on her, and immediately healed her. She stood straight and praised God. But this event created a crisis. The issue was not the healing, but the timing of the healing. It was the Sabbath, the prescribed day of rest. The synagogue ruler was furious, not because the woman was restored, but because Jesus had violated the Sabbath rule. He declared, "There are 6 days for work, so come and be healed on those days, and not on the Sabbath." Liberation from the burden. Jesus' reaction is a lesson in leadership and ethics. he pointed out that rules are only valuable if they serve life and freedom. The woman bent over. This is a metaphor for anyone carrying unnecessary burdens, toxic work pressure, pointless procedures, stress. The healing is the liberation from that burden. Analysis of the synagogue ruler. He represents the process mindset, one who prioritizes compliance over human development. He had forgotten that the purpose of the Sabbath was restoration, not a rule prohibiting healing. The lesson is, a person's recovery, the ability to stand straight, is always more important than the rigid compliance with the rule. Rigidity kills creativity and long-term productivity. Application in mental health and organizations. How can we apply this principle to create a healing work environment? Prioritize mental health. Never force an employee who is bent over to continue working solely because of rigid leave procedures or project pressure. A wise leader asks, what rule is hindering my team's recovery, e.g., banning flexible work, requiring email replies on weekends? Flexibility in process. Adopt a human-centered approach. If a rule, e.g., must have 3 meetings per week, is increasing burnout without increasing efficiency, eliminate it. The process must be the servant, not the master. The internal synagogue ruler. Recognize the synagogue ruler within you, the part that always urges you to comply with outdated personal rules, e.g., must work 12 hours before resting, can't take a break until everything is perfect, even when it harms your mental well-being. Financial wellness and serving yourself first. The giver's trap. We are taught that helping others is noble. But sometimes, the desire to rescue others conceals a harsh truth. We are neglecting ourselves. The ancient saying, "Physician, heal yourself," is a sharp warning against the savior complex. It teaches us the core lesson: you cannot pour from an empty cup. Before helping others, you must ensure your own financial, mental, and physical foundation is solid. The need for validation and failure. Jesus spoke this saying in Nazareth, where he was questioned. The people of Nazareth demanded that he perform miracles, as he had done in other cities. Essentially, they wanted public proof of his capability before they would trust him. But his response carries a deeper meaning. The need for external validation is often a sign of internal doubt. The physician, the healer, represents someone with the ability and desire to help others. The wounded represents the personal deficiency or crisis, financial, health, mental, that is being ignored. If a doctor is constantly ill but still prescribing medication for others, his advice loses weight. Your credibility is built on personal demonstration. When you fail to take care of yourself, you undermine your own ability to help others. Solid foundation and boundaries. This lesson is about personal responsibility and foundation. Financial wellness, healing yourself. You cannot sustainably lend money or provide financial help to others if you don't have an emergency fund for yourself. Building a financial cushion is a necessary act of healing yourself, ensuring that your generosity doesn't turn into your own collapse. Avoiding the savior complex. This complex often stems from a need to feel needed rather than the capacity to truly help. It drives you to intervene in others' problems as a way to avoid confronting your own unresolved issues. The principle is, never burn yourself out to keep others warm. Sustainable help always starts with abundance, not sacrifice. Application in personal finance and work. How do you apply the principle of healing yourself in modern life? Setting financial boundaries. Before agreeing to financially assist someone, loan, gift, ask yourself, will this harm my emergency fund or retirement plan? If the answer is yes, then decline. That's not selfishness, it's self-leadership. Measuring burnout. At work, if you constantly take on more responsibility because you want to save the team, stop. Your burnout serves no one. Your long-term productivity depends on maintaining your mental health and recovery time. Conditional service only help when you are in a position of strength. This is why flight attendants always ask you to put on your own oxygen mask first before helping others. Today, what wound in your finances, spirit, or health are you neglecting to try and heal others? What will you do to ensure your cup is full before you pour for others? Share one self-healing action you will take today in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next insightful lessons. See you again soon.